It's Do Time with Pastor Steph.
Good morning, and good morning. Welcome to It's Do Time with Pastor Steph. And where were you yesterday? Yesterday was a crazy conversation. We started off talking about the two women who didn't have a good situation going on. So we have one woman who's dating a man. She's pregnant by him, and she comes out of work one day to find someone stalking her, and they beat her up with a bat. They stomp on her to the degree that she has a footprint in her skin. Kill a baby, get that baby out of her, and it just went on and on and on. Thank God she and the baby are okay. Come to find out that this woman who was stalking her actually was somehow connected with her baby's father. Now, somehow or another, that conversation segued into where the good women at. Oh my goodness gracious, because I initially asked the question, well, you know what, Christian women, are you acting as desperate as the women in the street? And is your man in the church? Are we going to church and we're picking up men out of the church just because they're in the church? And boy, did that go in several different directions. And I got to tell you, the Do Time crew really came through on this one yesterday. They gave some crucial advice as to what you need to be looking for, what you shouldn't, be attracted to. Just because they are literally in the church, just because they go to church, does not make them dateable. And ladies, we're going to have to make sure that we're not chasing the men, because the word of God says just the very opposite. He who finds. So he's supposed to be on the search, not you. You're supposed to be taking your time to be prepared for if God sends someone. So I got to make sure we understand that we're doing things on a biblical level and not just this carnal level, because clearly you have these women out here who are actually attacking others. Shantice mentioned a situation that we personally know of where a woman literally traveled. This made like top news. She literally traveled to another state, stalked a woman, somehow ending up in a physical altercation, and the woman is dead. As a matter of fact, I think that woman was pregnant. She did, go back to her state, and they picked her up, and now she's been sentenced to life in prison at 31 years old. Lady, it ain't worth it. It is so not worth it. So we're going to have to make sure that we as Christian women, we're not out here cutting up and acting like these other women. Now, the question as to, the women, and, somebody wants to know where they can find the Claire Huxtables. And, another person said that good girls are not in the church. They can't be found. My suggestion to you is to make sure you're not doing something to help to tear the ladies down, men. Make sure that whatever you're doing, you are building her up. You are not tearing her down. You are not abusing her physically, mentally, emotionally, any kind of way, financially. Sometimes men hold money over women's head because they're the sole breadwinner. And that's financial abuse. Yes, it gets that far. Some people say, I never heard of that before. Yes, there's something called financial abuse. Some women feel like they have to stay in that abusive relationship because they can't physically go out and do anything because they're not the ones with the bank account. They're not the ones with the income. Their income is, small in comparison to his. So before we start looking for the Claire Huxtables, before we, start criticizing the women, let's make sure that we are not doing anything to stunt their growth, if you will. Are we helping our mothers, our sisters, our daughters, our nieces? Are we, our granddaughters? Are we doing what we need to do? Because that's always the first thing that you need to pay attention to. You seek God and ask God, am I doing my due diligence before I actually complain about something or somebody? Okay, well, that's just the lighter side of the conversation. If I were you, I'd go back and check out that conversation. Now, you can get that right here live. It's 24/7 on demand, whether it's Facebook Live, Coach for Christian Life, whether it's YouTube Live, a Closer Walk Christian Media Network. If you can't watch, but you can listen, make sure you hit us up on Spreaker.com, Apple iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Audible.com, Amazon, Spotify, iHeart, anywhere they're streaming, you can get it. Due Time with Pastor Steph. So make sure you go back and listen, because yesterday was quite a bit of information that was on the table. Okay. Well, today is Wow Wednesday, everybody. We made it by the grace of God halfway through the week. And guess what? If you didn't know, our girlfriend Vivian is waiting in the wings so we can get our socially conscious segment underway. So I'm going to get out of your way. Go ahead and get that healthy breakfast. Go ahead and tell somebody, anybody, everybody that It's Due Time with Pastor Steph is on. And whatever you do, don't go anywhere, because we will be right back.
The only one that's never heard of Dr. Anna Julia Cooper, a woman born into slavery, yet a quote of hers is printed on all U.S. passports? So if you're able to travel internationally, you've been carrying around her work and you didn't even know it. Dr. Cooper was born in 1858 in Raleigh, North Carolina, into slavery. Her and her family were freed in 1863, and after that, she attended St. Augustine Normal School. She was so advanced that she started tutoring other students at around 10 years old. While attending that school, she wanted to take certain classes that were only offered to the male students. She fought, and finally they allowed her to take certain classes, so she went on to take advanced mathematics, Latin, and Greek. After she graduated, she attended Oberlin College in Ohio, where she studied mathematics. She went on to get her bachelor's degree and her master's in mathematics. After graduating, she moved to Washington, D.C. and became a teacher at M Street School. While she was there, she helped students get into Ivy League schools such as Yale and Harvard. Throughout her career, she traveled internationally, sharing her work and educating people on the civil rights movement. She also founded several organizations to help fight civil rights. During those times, the YMCA and the YWCA would not allow blacks to join. So she started colored branches of those organizations to help migrants moving from the South to Washington, D.C. At the age of 66, she completed a doctorate program from a university in Paris. Dr. Cooper passed away at the age of 105 in Washington, D.C. And if you have a U.S. passport, if you turn to page 24 and 25, you'll see this quote. "The cause of freedom is not the cause of race or sect, a party or a class. It is the cause of humankind, the very bright right of humanity." Wow. Such a trailblazer, such an inspiration. The only black woman to have a quote in the U.S. passport. Big shout out to Dr. Anna Cooper. I'm so glad that I now know her dope story.
morning, and good morning again. Welcome back to It's Due Time with Pastor Steph, and it is Wow Wednesday. All right, let's not wait any further. Let's get our girlfriend Vivian on, and let's say good morning, and we can get out socially conscious. Good morning, Viv.
Good morning. Happy Wow Wednesday. How are you, Pastor Steph?
I'm all right, thanks. Don't think I ain't catching you. Is that a black hat or no hat?
No hat.
Oh, all right. So the weather is warming up a little bit. Okay, all right. Well, thank you so much for joining us this morning. You know what I like to ask. What you got for us today?
All right. First, having some technical difficulties. My iPad is turning on, so there may not be any video of me while I'm telling the stories, but hopefully we can get this together. Let's see here. All right, today on Socially Conscious, we are starting off with New York City announcing that the Bronx will be getting 200 more NYPD officers as the department restructures the borough into 2 separate police commands instead of 1. Officials say this is meant to improve insight and response times in a community that has one of the highest crime rates among the city's boroughs. Recent data shows the Bronx has a violent crime rate well above the city average, roughly about 8.9% violent incidents per 1,000 residents compared to the 5.1 that goes on citywide, and higher overall crime figures than most other parts of New York City. But we knew this already, right? Supporters believe more officers and focused leadership could help curb crime and make neighborhoods safer, but critics point out that policing alone does not address deep-rooted issues like economic inequality and lack of community resources that contribute to crime. So as they are planning to roll out this whole new plan, putting 200 more officers in the Bronx and dividing their police commands into 2 instead of 1, many residents are saying that they are watching closely to see whether this will reshape the community or not and create safer streets, or simply if it will widen the gap between enforcement and community investment. So as they put this plan into place, we will see if this helps the Bronx or not. Next, we have an update on the nurses' strike. They're saying more than 10,000 New York City nurses have finally reached a tentative deal that could end the city's largest and longest nurses' strike in history. After nearly 4 weeks on the picket line, nurses with the New York State Nurse Association have agreed on contracts with Mount Sinai and Montefiore hospitals. They're saying that this new agreement will include safe staffing standards, protections from workplace violence, maintain health benefits, and wage increases of about 12% over the next 3 years. They're hoping that with this new agreement, the nurses will return to work by the weekends in those 2 hospitals. However, the walkout continues at New York Presbyterian, where roughly 4,000 nurses remain on strike as negotiation over staffing and safety continue with New York Presbyterian. The union says the strike has highlighted deep concerns about patient care, conditions, and workplace safety, especially as nurses brave freezing temperatures as they're out here striking, really trying to make their point. So we're hoping that New York Presbyterian will follow suit and that all the nurses will be back at work soon. Next, we have in Queens, 2 men have been charged in a massive fraud involving Medicare and Medicaid. They're saying the programs that are meant to help seniors and low income people get medical care. Prosecutors say that over nearly 10 years, these men use pharmacy and adult care centers to bill the government for services that never actually happened. They're saying that they paid elderly people with cash and gift cards in order to help them in this scam. Even those services or medications that they signed, that they got, or they received, or they went to pick up were not necessary, or they never even received that care. Officials say this fraud cost taxpayers $120 million, money that was supposed to help support real medical care for vulnerable people beyond their financial loss. So they're really trying to figure out how this was done for so long. Again, over 10 years, or about 10 years, this went on between these two men taking this money from Medicaid and Medicare. And now we have our wow story of the week, which is again in honor of Black History Month. We have the story of Annie Malone. They're saying before there was ever a Madam C.J. Walker, before she became a household name, Annie Malone was already building a beauty empire. Annie was born in 1869. She was a chemist, an entrepreneur, and an innovator who developed hair care products specifically for Black women at a time when mainstream products damaged Black hair and scalp. She founded the Poro Company, which became one of the largest Black-owned businesses in the United States in the early 1900s. They're saying Poro, this company, employed over 75,000 Black women worldwide, giving them jobs, training them, giving them financial independence and dignity where opportunities were extremely limited for the Black community. They're saying the part that really gets everybody is that history often skips Mrs. Malone and goes straight to Madam C.J. Walker, even though Madam C.J. Walker worked for Annie Malone first before she became who we know her as. They say Annie Malone actually mentored Madam C.J. Walker, trained her, and gave her a foundation in the business. And while Walker went on to become more publicly recognized, Annie Malone quietly continued expanding her company and growing her business, given to a lot of the Black community, and really just off into her own thing. So even though we know Madam C.J. Walker for who she is, before her there was Annie Malone. So now we have this interesting fun fact about another individual who kind of was blindsided by the history books. But this has been Vivian with Socially Conscious, giving you the news that we are following. And remember, if you have any wild stories you would like to submit, please feel free to direct message me on Facebook. My username there is Vivian BM, and come back every Wednesday to find out if your story has been chosen. Thank you as always to our loyal listeners, and thank you, Pastor Steph.
Well, thank you, Vivian. Thank you. I just got a quick question, please. You said that Annie Malone employed over how many people, please?
750,000 Black.
Woo! 750,000 employees or Black women?
I believe wide. It was Black women.
Okay. Ooh, wow. All righty. Thank you so much for your contribution into today's episode, and we pray you have a blessed day. Stay warm.
Yes, thank you. You as well. Have a good day.
Thank you. Thank you. You too. You know what we had to skip in order to get Viv on early. We didn't get a chance to holler at one another. So we're going to go backwards and we're going to say good morning. If you're in the room, please check in because remember, Pastor Steph can't see you. I don't get those notifications like everybody else. So please give me a holler so I can shout you out. We got to check it from our boy Serge. Hey, Serge, what's going on, my brother? Thank you so much for joining us. We got our girl Kenny on the line. Thank you so much, Kenny, for being in the room. Now, this ugly salt potato, is that Lily? If so, good morning, ugly salt potato, but let me know us this morning. We got our lady Tamika in the room, and we can't wait to get her on that screen so we can get to talking. Our ugly salt potato. Oh, okay. So that's a confirmation that is Lily. Yes. Good morning. She says, what? I hope it actually works, but I also hope they don't over abuse their power either. All right. We're going to get into that conversation for sure. We got to check it from Miss Grace. Hey, Miss Grace. Thank you so much. Now, I always wish you a nice, cozy, warm outing. But Vivian didn't have no hat on today, so I'm hoping that you can be just as toasty as she is. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Have a safe trip. We got a check-in from our ladies who make sure we are held down each and every morning. Let's say good morning to our girl Shantice. Hey, Shantice. And let's say good morning to our girl Anika. Good morning. Thank you so much. Could not do it without you ladies. And before we go to our socially conscious segment and talk about Annie Malone, let's give a shout out and give God thanks for our Dr. Anna Cooper. That whole video played, which we heard everything. And to get your blurb in the passport book, go. Blessings to her family. I'm sure they're, very proud of their, heritage and her legacy. And man, I'm telling you something. We do Black History Year here on It's Due Time with Pastor Steph, but we really do the shout outs during the month of February where everybody else is celebrating Black History Month. And boy, are we loaded with blessings, innovation, and creativity. So, let's keep that going. All right. Well, let's say good morning to our girl, Tamika. Lady Tamika, good morning.
Good morning. Happy wow.
Oh, we even got the body movement this morning. Go ahead, girl. Good morning. Listen, tell Brother Al we miss him. How dare he go back to work? He would be on today, but we miss him because we had him for a few months. So please let him know that we miss him. And let's say good morning to our girl Shantice. Good morning.
Good morning, ladies. How are you?
Yeah.
I am well, thank you. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
All right, Vivian gave us some real interesting stuff here. So I'm going to shake up things. I'm not going to give them in the order that she gave them. I'm going to start from item number 2. So we have the nurses from Mount Sinai and Montefiore. They're on their way back into the hospital. Woo-wee! Giving God thanks for that. After 4 weeks, they have come to some agreements. And these are the first 2 off the picket line, first 2 sets off the picket line. There are 3 sets, so Presbyterian is still out there. They have reached some agreement with the 2 hospitals, Mount Sinai and Montefiore, like I said. And one of the things is that they will get a 12% increase over 3 years. Now, that may not sound like a lot. It may not be a lot, but it was enough for them to come off the picket line. And so we're happy that, there are some people who are really working towards getting this done. Now, they were also actually on that line for some other stuff, such as workplace safety and the conditions and things like that. And I don't think we'll ever know the real deep down story, but at least two of them are coming off the line. And the walkout is still going on for at least 4,000 nurses who are connected to New York Presbyterian. And they have several hospitals in this city. They have Queens, they have Lower Manhattan, and they have Upper Manhattan. So they've got some nurses here, and they are still concerned about deep patient care and workplace conditions. So what we got to say about part of them coming off, some of them being able to reach an agreement, some of them haven't been able to reach an agreement. And before we hear from our lady Tamika, we're going to say good morning to our girl Teresa. Hey, Teresa. Good morning. And we got to check in from our brother Ainsley. Good morning, Ainsley. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. All right, Lady Tamika, what say you about, a partial agreement on one hand, and on the other hand, it's still kind of simmering and they have not been able to come to a resolution just yet?
Okay. So before I get to that, since we were talking about Black History Month, I don't know if you can see that, but that's...
Oh, did you get the Muhammad Ali?
Yes, I got it.
So, all right. We talked about that.
That's out there. Please get your African American stamps. I went out there yesterday, stood an hour at the post office.
Wow.
And those stamps in total are $15.90.
Wow.
But they are forever stamps, so you don't have to worry about, what if it expires? Go out and get them.
Wow. Wow. So how many are there?
Looks like about 12.
Okay. Well, listen, they're forever stamps. So no matter how high the postage goes, you will only pay $15.90. So shout out to you for making that move.
Yeah.
Thank you for letting us know that you got it, because we talked about that here, the Muhammad Ali
right.
stamp. So go girl.
The thing about that is we're on the 11th and she had to search for it. So I was like,
what?
How do you get for it at the beginning of the month? So
wow.
If you haven't got them, run out and get them now.
All right. Thank you for the alert.
You are welcome. So talking about our nurses, we have been talking about, I mentioned to you, I had an appointment with Mount Sinai, and there was a voicemail saying there's no one available to take your call, and for me, that's one thing, but for somebody who has a major health issue, that's life altering. The fact that our nurses are getting back to what they're good for doing is a wonderful thing. But 4,000, that's a big number. That's a lot of people, a lot of situations and issues that are not being addressed. Please give these people their money. They work extremely hard. We spend, many hours or many periods of time with nurses giving us details and information or inquiring about things that we didn't think about. And then we spend 5 minutes, if that, with the doctor. So please give these people their money.
All righty. Shantice, are we, is it too soon to celebrate? Or should we just throw up one pom-pom right about now?
Definitely a call to celebrate, because as it was highlighted, these nurses are needed. They're needed. So if 3 nurses went back, we're giving God thanks, because we know how impactful they are in these facilities, in these hospitals, in these emergency rooms, in these doctors' office. They help to keep order and structure, as well as the nurturing of each individual patient. So God willing, they'll be able to come across some level of negotiations and whatever these nurses are asking for, because again, I haven't heard, maybe it's because I haven't come across it, but I haven't heard of these nurses asking for anything that was just extreme. You know, it seems like these are veteran nurses who are really doing their due diligence, and they love what they do. At the same time, they feel like they need to be properly compensated, even if it's not monetary compensation. You know, if they're asking for anything as far as time off or, you know, protocol when it's time to call out, or however that works, you know, because each industry and field has their way of handling those things. So even though it's not across the board, every single nurse has decided to go back, but we give God thanks that they've been able to properly, the powers that be, not to just pacify them, but actually give them what's needed and what they're owed.
All right, all right. Well, I wonder if Kathy Hochul stepped up, y'all. Last week, that's what we were talking about. That's what Vivian brought us, that they were upset because they felt that Kathy Hochul, the governor, didn't step up the way she should have and could have. So I'm wondering if they paid any special attention once they shouted her out. But like you ladies have said, you know, you're talking about 14,000 nurses. That's a lot of people out of the medical profession where we need them. It's, you know, medical, the hospitals keep running, you know, no matter what's going on, no matter what the shutdown is, we need our nursing staff. And, you know, for them to be concerned about their safety or patient care or workplace conditions, that to me, I always say, why did you even let it get that far? Because listen to me, this is not unknown to the powers that be. I'm sure once it starts, someone says something and somebody knows something. So in order for y'all to make this part of your walkout, then that means that this has gotten pretty bad. So again, you know, giving God thanks that we're almost there, and you know, they are still kind of negotiating some stuff on the Presbyterian side. Like I said, there are 3 locations there. I think it's like 70 something street. There's one at the top on 168th Street, and there's one out here in Queens. And these hospitals are not small hospitals. They are huge hospitals. So you just imagine 4,000 nurses. And not only that, they're top hospitals. New York Presbyterian hospitals are top hospitals. So I ask the same question I asked last week. Why would you even let it get this far? You know, that's not a small governor. I'm sorry. You saw it coming. You could have done something about this before, you know. So, well, you know, pom-poms. We got at least part of this taken care of. All right, ladies. Now, let's talk about the Bronx. So we already know that the Bronx is way up there on the scale of crime. Well, they'll be adding 200 more police officers and dividing their commands into 2 instead of 1, hoping that it will improve community responses as the crime rate seems to not be going anywhere in the Bronx. Speaking of which, we had some incident in the Bronx yesterday, and they're saying that the Bronx is well above the city average of crime. There is 8% in every 1,000 incidences of crime. It went up that much, I believe Vivian said, opposed to the rest of New York City at only 5%. So this is crazy. So they're hoping that more officers will curb the crime level, and they're also dealing with the lack of community resources. So, you know, when you don't fix the problem, which is what they're ultimately talking about. So yeah, put more cops out there to help with the crime, but what are you doing about the reason why there's so much crime? So I don't know. Are they pulling what do they say, the cart before the horse, Shantice?
I definitely believe that they are, because again, you have to learn to be proactive in order to really make a difference. And just like you were saying, I thought the same thing. I'm like, wow, how just yesterday you had someone shoot and kill someone in the subway in the Bronx, right on the platform. And they didn't even do their due diligence. And, you know, I understand from documentaries I watch, reality shows I watch, as far as, you know, police and crimes, that you can't clean up the crime scene right away because they have to come and, you know, examine and investigate, so on and so forth. Something different has to be done, because to hear that other MTA employees and passengers are now going past the station and seeing the evidence of some massacre, is just crazy. Like, it's bad enough that this happened there, and it happened to where other people were able to record it and post it, you know. But now you got other people now coming hours later, and it's almost as if it just happened, you know. So yes, they need to, as this has been put into effect, and this is great, but how are you being proactive? How are you making sure that everyone was, you know, how many police officers, this shooting in the subway, it's not all that big of a shocker. We've been hearing for over a year how it's just been dumb down there. So are you putting active, purpose-driven police down there? Are they being checked on to ensure that they're doing their job on their post, to ensure that they are helping to be a preventive measure, you know, for this? So if it's just, okay, you're just gonna put more cops there, people are looking at cops right now and laughing. You know, it's like, what? Okay, so they're there, their presence is there, great. How else not, or what else is gonna be done?
All right. We got a check in from Miss Herlima. Hey, Miss Herlima. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. We have Lily who says, I saw that. It was right on the same train line I take as well. Ooh, yeah. You and a whole lot of other people. Oh, my goodness gracious. Lady Tamika, you know, is this great news or good news? And you know what I'm talking about.
Well, the thing that gets me is a lot of times when you put more police officers in an area, you cause the opposite effect. As opposed to people being calmed and reassured and feeling like they're safe, you know, you have people who are going to test cops, you know, and so I think that we need to put the resources where there needs to be. You know, part of the reason why we're having so much is that they're not given what they need, you know. And you go to other areas like Brooklyn where, you know, they're doing dog parks and things like that, you know. Take the resources and use them for the community. It's obvious that, you know, when a lot of times when you don't have something to do, you find things to do. And unfortunately, when you find things to do, it's not a good thing, you know, going into a mall and acting crazy, you know, or going to a subway. And instead of just getting a fist fight, you use a gun. And I'm looking at a video this morning of a youth, a child, who said he was right there. He saw it, you know, and
oh, wow.
You know, my heart went out to him. I mean, he said he was on his way to school, you know, and so it's not that you're just doing it with adults. These children are seeing it, you know. Take care of the neighborhood so that you can minimize when people feel like you're looking out for us, you're looking out for the people in the neighborhood, then they'll take better care of their community and those that are around them.
Absolutely, absolutely. We got to check in. Shantice has a check in from Brian. Good morning, Brian. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
I'm here too, Brian.
Yo, Brian, you were the one yesterday asking for Claire Huxtable. Well, what's going on? I told you got to take care of the ladies. That's where you're going to find your Claire Huxtable. So we have the Bronx on they're attacking the Bronx with 200 more police officers. When that's not V, Brian, that's Tamika. Lady Tamika, you missed V already. V was on, gave us the socially conscious segment. So you
Right.
gotta fix that. It's Lady Tamika who's saying that. All right. So, is it better that they have 200 more police officers and they have now broken up? Instead of one command, they have two commands. Well, needless to say, there will be a better police response because there are more people out there, there are more cops. But are we trying to make sure that there is less that they have to respond to? That's the question. Is crime rate going up? I'm still trying to figure out how all these companies are saying they have openings when so many people don't have jobs. What is going on with our youth? Are you paying attention and opening up community centers or extending these after school programs? Or, what are you doing? What is the problem in the Bronx? So let's talk about our news stories. So last week we did the news story in the Bronx where you've been smoking crack for so long and you need to get a gram of crack that you go into a building and you try to steal a stove and blow up the building, and the building has an explosion. I don't know. Yes, I do agree that, you should get more cops, but are the cops being trained properly? Are they just going to be as bad as the criminals? Are they the criminals? I don't know. There's so many questions when it comes to this.
Mm-hmm.
You want to wait, go back a little bit. Wasn't Mamdani's one of his campaign focuses was on defunding the police? Ooh, what happened here?
Now those are the ones you need to ante up on.
Wow. Okay, that's interesting. Okay, so what? He has a big crime focus. He's talked about as the mayor. He, as the new mayor, he has a big crime focus and things like that. So there's a lot of work to be done. And like Shanti said, like Lady Tamika said, we need to be proactive. That way we don't, need to have 200 more. So here's my question. Where are the resources coming from? Where are you pulling the resources from? Are you pulling the resources from the community where you could, benefit the community just a little bit more? It's almost like building more jails opposed to, doing things within the community to keep the people from going to jail. So this is kind of like a touchy situation. I'm from the Bronx, and to be on this side of the bridge and hear so much stuff coming out of the Bronx. I remember when the girls were young and I moved into a brand new building. It was absolutely beautiful. The teacher where we were coming from begged me not to pull Shantice out of the school because where we went, that school was graded the lowest in the whole borough of the Bronx. So I found myself traveling each and every day. So this is what I'm talking about. So that was back in 1994. You're talking about 30 years ago. 31 years ago almost. And still the Bronx has not improved much. What is happening there? What's happening? So, I don't know. I'd really like to hear the other side of the plan. That's what I'd like to hear. We got to check in. Where were you, Brian, last week when we were talking about stole the oven?
Right.
Wasn't he on, y'all? He was on that day. He was on the day when the guy stole the oven out of one of the buildings.
I was connected to the gas line and wrapped the comforter around it, around the gas pipe.
Yeah. So we got some issues going on in the Bronx, and we're going to pray that they get a little better. We got to check it from our Pastor KL. Good morning, Pastor KL. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Now, speaking of some misfits, out in Queens, you have 2 men charged with a Medicare and Medicaid scam. This has been going on for over 10 years. They say they have used pharmacy and adult care services to get their money. They have paid the elderly people with cash and gift cards to help along with the lies and the scam, and that's how they've been able. The question is, how has this been able to go on for 10 years? Well, when you got the victims a part of the scam, that's how it goes down, and that's how it lasts for 10 years and then some. Over $120 million, and they never received the care. Lady Tamika, good Lord.
I'm trying to figure out how that happened. And here's the reason why I say that. For those who have worked in healthcare, every year, without fail, you're given these series of tests on, how fraud transpires, and how this and how that. And, there are firewalls and pit avenues that you can't go through because you could be walking on that fine line of fraud, and my thing is, it's one thing for this to happen, but for a decade, you've been scamming people. They've been taking the gift certificates, the gift cards, and my thing is, isn't there so many, aren't they? Here's the babysitter. Somebody being the babysitter. I say this, I say this like ad nauseum every week. Somebody's got to be the babysitter. Somebody's got to watch to see what's going on in the room or in the city and the state. 10 years? How is it that you fine line those who are working in Medicare? You got 2 individuals, not a whole company, not, a state envisioned entity, 2 individuals. And they were able to go free, ramshod, manipulating our seniors to get, and 10, I just don't understand how 10 years. And again, nobody wants to be the babysitter.
Big question, Lady Tamika, big question. Shantice, 10 whole years, 2 people, a whole bunch of seniors getting paid by cash and gift cards. Oh.
I didn't know they took gift cards in the medical field. Like, you could take your Target gift card and pay your copay. But when you said
no, not like that. So they needed the elderly people to lie and say they received services or items. So what they would do to get them to lie is they would pay them with cash or gift cards.
My question remains the same, because you still have some elderly people who still move around like younger people. But when you become older, even if you're not a sickly elderly person, your life is just about going for your checkups and staying at home. Whether you were retired or something. So how beneficial are these gift cards? That the average grandmother, she went and gave them gift cards to her grandkids. They ain't using their gift cards. That's why I said, what are you using a Target card to pay your copay? Because you ain't doing nothing. We ain't talking about the grandmother who's 40. We talking about the real grandmothers. Okay, they ain't doing nothing, and then it's like, how you get got? How you the one who needs the services, but you in on the scam? You on both sides of the scam.
That's the part. That's the part right there.
How you end up? How you get got? And you how you on both sides of the scam? This just goes to show how desperate scamming has gotten now. Whether you're the scammer or the scammy, well, you know what? It's going to end up happening to me anyways. I might as well get, my cut on the other side. Like, what? How? I don't know how they plan on throwing the book at these people, but it's just gonna be a funny day in court. I'm trying to envision how this court room is gonna look, and how many chuckles even from the judge, because as they're analyzing and going through everything, it's just like, y'all really did this, and y'all coerced these elderly people to now be on both sides. You too young, you too old to have to be pulled into the interrogation room. Or it's like, I'm not trying to be in my 60s, 70s, and 80s, and somebody knock on my door and talk about, Miss James, you need to come with us, please. For what? Where am I going? But now they got to get down to what's happening, because you're now a part of this scam, a part of this fraud. That's just ridiculous. It's like, we don't have nothing else to do now.
That's the part that was troubling to me when I heard the story from Vivian, because my thing is, I'm hearing from elderly people right now who receive Medicare that this is a trouble spot. As a person who receives Medicare, I just got finished saying, actually, to Vivian last night, I said, you know what? I went for an MRI. And when you go through the screen where they have questions, and on the screen it popped up, my copay was $225. I said, oh, wait, nobody told me about, yes, keep your mouth closed. Yes, my copay for the MRI was $225. So I said to the lady, I said, oh, y'all expect me to pay this now? Because if so, we might as well wrap this up, because that ain't happening. Here's my problem with you being paid off to be a part of the scam, you dope. It's only us who's gonna suffer. We're gonna eat that. What is the matter with people? And y'all want to know why every day we're here talking about you need Jesus? Who has not figured out that what you got in a gift card ain't gonna match how they gonna hit us with this $120 million? Where's that $120 million they gonna get it back from? It's gonna be from us. We're already at we're already capped as to how much we can get, whether you're a retiree because of age and you're a senior, or whether you're a disabled person and you're getting Social Security disability. Yo, I'm like, I couldn't, when she said that this morning, immediately I thought about our conversation last night. And I'm like, didn't I just say to her that they need to fix this for those of us who get Medicare? How you charging me $225 for a copay for an MRI? Why am I paying this kind of money and you already know how much I get because I'm disabled? You already know my earning potential because I'm disabled. I can't get a bonus or increase. Yo, and here, this is why we end up eating all of that stupidity. So you got two men for 10 years that $120 million thanks to, that's why when Vivian said, well, how did this happen? Because the people that's a part of this are a part of the scam. What dope. Listen, here's the bad part. They ain't paid these people no money. What'd you give them, $100? 75, 50. They didn't pay these people no money. They weren't talking to no young people when you really got to hit them all $500,000. No, you talking about some elderly people that, like you said, Shantice, I thought the same thing. Y'all not going out here to get with no gift card, spending it. You giving that to somebody in your family. And here we are going, we're going to eat that 120. I promise you that. And Tamika, you having been on that side, you know we gonna eat that 120.
You got it.
Because they can't charge it to the regular people. They have to charge it back to us. Yep. The regular people ain't getting no Medicare. They're paying into Medicare. We're done. I wish I could talk to the elderly people now. Because if I wouldn't call them stupid and dumb, because you are gonna eat this one. You gonna eat this one. You gonna eat this. And we are eating it all for the selfish, thoughtless people who don't have a vision, because your vision would have immediately said, you must be kidding me. You're going to give me $100 now. How am I going to eat this $100 later? Because I'm taking this $100 from you now, but I'm going to eat $500 on the back end because now they got to divvy this thing up. No, come on. You got to be kidding me. Oh, let's get to these comments. Brian says the Bronx is terrible. I will never forget when I passed through 3rd Avenue and 149th Street. Let me tell you something, Brian. Let me tell you something. I grew up in the Bronx, and from a little girl, we used to go to 149th and 3rd Ave. One of the worst parts of the Bronx ever. Even when they fixed it up, it's still one of the worst parts of the Bronx ever. It will forever have that junky, dump, nasty. Look, I don't care how many new buildings they put up. I don't care. No.
Even the train stop.
I was just gonna say, when you come up, when you get off at the train, it's just an aura about that area. When you come up out the train, it's an aura about that area. That ain't never gonna change, because I hadn't been there in about 10 or 15 years, and I could not believe when I got off the train. I was like, oh no. When I went upstairs, it was just that icky feeling. It looks just like that now, Brian. I don't care how many new stores they put up there. Hey, Adele, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. Brian says it's a special place in the upper room for them people that's taking advantage of the elders. Absolutely.
But it's the elders.
Right, but the elders should know better. I'm sorry.
But the elders should know advantage of the elders.
That's what I'm saying. The elders should know better. Cut it out. Cut it out. They should be ashamed of themselves. Oh, goodness gracious. We've got Kenny who says, yes, 3rd Ave. All you see is people nodding or asking, do you have $1? Lily says, yes, that's literally how it looks till this day. Yes. I'm telling you, back in the day was what, like the 70s? My mother, because that's where we used to go to get our glasses. That was one of the places we used to go to get our glasses. And it just, I remember from being a little girl, and it just oh. And when I went back 25 years later, I could not believe it was the same thing. So unfortunately, that's why I say, and the ladies have said, what are you doing? You must do something about why these people are still like this. You've got to contribute more into who's there, because something's missing. Something is definitely missing. All righty. We got Annie Malone, who actually hired Madam C.J. Walker. I got the clarification where Vivian said she employed over 750,000 individuals. She was a chemist, hair care founder, founded some huge company. Well, listen, you got to have a company if you got 750,000 people at the same time, over time, it don't matter. And for some reason, history has skipped over her and given this hair care product to Madam C.J. Walker. And this has been out. This is not a new story. This has been out. But still, you don't hear about Annie Malone. You hear about Madam C.J. Walker. Shantice.
Yeah. I actually learned about this. I think it was 2020. I think it was the pandemic when they had the Madam C.J. Walker story on Netflix. Starring, what's her name? The one who played Ma. I forgot her name. She played.
Spencer. Octavia Spencer.
Yes, Octavia Spencer. And she played Madam C.J. Walker. And that's when I learned that she pretty much ripped off Annie Malone. But the main thing was that Madam C.J. Walker did all of the publicity. she's the one that did the marketing and like really put it out there on that plateau, where Annie Malone did all of the real groundwork.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and her focus was, let me make the inventions, the products. Let me push that. Let me push being a philanthropist more than pushing myself along with, that. So that's what had Madam C.J. Walker become a lot more known than Annie Malone. But when I found that out, I was just like, wow, like that, again, pushing you to do your research, because it's not saying that Madam C.J. Walker didn't do anything, because even if she went down as the first Black marketing exec, to really do it like that, she did learn a lot. But she did help to take all of that Annie Malone did to the next level, because she did do something that Annie Malone did not do. But if you didn't know, you would think she really just invented all of that from scratch by herself. So, thank God for those who actually did do the research and expose all of these trailblazers behind the trailblazers. Because if it wasn't for Annie Malone, there would not have been a Madam C.J. Walker.
All righty. Lady Tamika, who are we celebrating? Are we celebrating everybody?
Apparently not, and I'll be honest, this is the first time I've ever heard of Annie Malone. And I think about, all of the schools that are doing Black History programs, even in my past, that, you had little children dressing up, like characters, and not really realizing that, yes, we the whole reason that we know about, Madam C.J. Walker is because of the publicity. And even to today's, you can see her family is still pushing, her name. But, you should at least do some attributive, some accolade that says, okay, fine, Madam C.J. Walker did such and such, but she wouldn't have been able to get that. That's one of the things that we have a hardship, is that we forget to reach back. We get there, we arrive, and unfortunately, those that we have either stepped aside or stepped on the shoulders of, we forget to attribute them. And so I think it is crucial that, we do that.
Absolutely. Shanti said something key where she said, you had the know to do, or the ability to do the marketing. And that's what always happens. Because look, pay attention. She didn't have to do the groundwork. Groundwork was already done. So now I can focus on the marketing because the other part is already done. I don't have to do both. Where you had Annie Malone, who literally would have had to do both, because she's trying to get the product, she's trying to do whatever she needs to do, and having a company, employees, and product, and all this. That's a whole job in and of itself. Right. People have a marketing job. That's a job, and they don't focus on the product. They learn about the product so that they can market it. So you're talking about the fact that the groundwork was already done, and now Madam C.J. Walker comes along, and now she takes off. And remember now, I've already learned this, because remember, if she was a mentee of Annie Malone, you knew what was already being done and how to do it. And if you worked there, you knew what was done and how to do it. So you already had that part in the bag. So now the only thing you really had to focus on was the marketing. So, unfortunately, I agree with you 100%, Lady Tamika. I could not take credit as though, nobody else had a part in this but me. And for all these years, that's all we've ever heard. I heard about this Annie Malone quite a few years ago, and I was like, oh, okay, well, that must be nice that you just wiped her completely off the board. You didn't even give the credit. You didn't even say, well, you know what? If it weren't for Annie Malone, I wouldn't be here. Whatever. There's a million ways you could get this done. Okay? Because here's my thing. You got a label. Madam C.J. Walker put in no fine print. Even if you don't do nothing but that. Some recognition to who helped get you here. So, oh boy. Such is life. Sometimes you give away all your great ideas and somebody takes it and they run with it and you still sitting back picking cotton, if you will, and somebody else then got your idea and they didn't ran off.
Yep.
So shout out to Annie Malone's family. Again, the history and the legacy that was left here. And now the truth is coming out more and more and more. Oh, thank you so much, ladies, for indulging me on our socially conscious segment. So, we always got to have some kind of topic. So I stumbled across an article and it talked about best friends. And, I always love to tell y'all that my mother said you ain't got no blankety blank friends. And I'm looking at the caption here and it's really interesting. And I'm sure you ladies are going to be able to talk about this thing. And our chat room guests will be able to talk about this as well. Because I think everybody understands that they have had a trauma bond. Now here's what they're putting out. So you have those friends that are friends. You travel, you hang out, you do this, you do that, and you kind of have a friend across the board. But they call trauma buddies a trauma bond when you have these friends that for the most part, all you do is trade trauma stories. All you do is, if something happens, girl, let me tell you what happened. That there's that friend or those friends that you can't wait to tell. And what they're saying is, by the time you finish a conversation, by the time you've actually looked back over this friendship, that is really not a friendship. You've just had a trauma buddy, a trauma bond. So they give some signs that this is not really your best friend, but that this is a trauma buddy. And all y'all got in common are traumas. So they say one of the signs, the friendship only feels close when something's wrong. We'll start with you, Lady Tamika.
Now, how am I supposed to get out of this hole? This emotional whatever. If every time I talk to you, it's only when there's something going wrong. Like you don't even want to talk. Let me tell you what happened in my household. Or let me tell you what, my spouse did for me. He cooked dinner and such and such. You don't want to hear that. We're not talking about anything beneficial to either one of us. So you're only comfortable when I'm down in the hole with you. Or you find a way to call me with your trauma to pull me down in the pit that you're in. So neither one of us is going anywhere. It's the blind leading the blind. That's a crab mentality. So I'm trying to rise up. You're willing to break my arm to keep me down to where you are.
All right. Shantice, they say during this time of conversation, you're only swapping breakups, job loss, family emergencies. What's up with that? That's what they're talking about here when they say you only feel close when something's wrong.
Yes, and that's really concerning when you hear it out loud, when you're on the outside of it. And I can rely on you to listen to all of the havoc and the chaos. You're never a part of the damage control. You're never a part of the Bible studies. You're never a part of anything that has to do with the reconstruction of it, with the fixing of it. But if I want to go rah-rah, or when I want to vent, when I want to cuss and yell and slap this one, or you here for it, because that's what you're here for you. So now we're gonna help to wreak havoc in each other's lives. Like that's what we're relying on. Who can I help go? And everybody knows who they can talk to at what point in their life, at what point in their situation, at what point in their dilemma. It's like, I'm feeling like this. I'm not calling Pastor Joan. She's gonna tell me to pray. I don't feel like praying right now. He ain't gonna calm me down. I don't want to be calm. I feel like slapping somebody. So I'm gonna go and I'm gonna call Stacy, because Stacy gonna amp me up. Stacy gonna meet me at his house before I even get there, just to make sure he home. And she gonna knock on the door. So by the time I get there, he already at the door, so I can just do a drive-by slap. That's who I'm gonna call. We gotta be real careful when we get that strategic, because when you get that strategic, see how this whole blackout concept, you ain't blackout when you all strategic like that.
Absolutely. Going back a little bit, Brian says we can't forget about George and Joan Johnson that built a $40 million cosmetics empire. Yep, shout out to George and Joan Johnson. All righty. Thank you for that tidbit, Brian. All righty. They say another sign that it's not a friendship, it's only a trauma buddy. And you know what? I gotta interject this. One of the things that drew me to this topic was last week's video about the friend who was allowed to move in, and she ended up taking advantage of the other friend. They say you compete over who's had it worse. Lady Tamika,
you ever been in a conversation with somebody and you say, child, I just blah, blah, blah. Well, let me tell you, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Story out. Can we share here that, you one up in me? Like I just told you, something I lost. Let's just say I went to the store and I lost $200. Child, let me tell you, I had my wallet. My wallet, for some reason my wallet was open. I lost $500. You're not trying to help. You're not trying to. We're not trying to. I'm trying to tell you what happened to me, so that maybe you can encourage me to. Maybe I put it in another pocket. You're just trying to one up me, so that your story looks worse than mine. How about consoling where I'm going to right now? You don't want to do that. You just want to stay down in this little hole. And if as soon as I try and take 2 steps up, you pull me 2 steps down. And you're not considering my emotions that I'm going through. You're trying to keep me in that area where I can pop off. Like Shanti says, I can pop off on somebody, go into the store and lose my mind, because instead of you trying to keep me or trying to make me stable in my mind, you keeping me in that chaotic circle.
Shantice, you compete over who's had it worse, girl. You ain't got one for me. I got one for you.
And it's real easy to find yourself doing that. I find myself doing that a lot.
Wow.
And I don't remember. And again, it doesn't have to be from a malicious standpoint, but when you find that like you're open to talking about your experiences, and someone talks to you about it, you like, yo, cause I've been through that too, and da. Or when you get to the point where you tired of people crying about like spraining their toe, but here you done broke your leg, and you like, all right, do me a favor and shut up, because I just broke my whole leg is in the cast. You just limping, like I can't walk, but you're crying over your limp, and you have to make sure that you're not being condescending, because that's being condescending. It doesn't mean that you haven't suffered something greater, but that doesn't mean you downplay what someone else is feeling as well. So you have to be real careful to not become that person, and to be able to identify that in yourself and identify it with other people. And when you do, they ain't listening. they're not really listening to you. They're just waiting for an opportunity to now
Your
be
turn.
able to match,
Mhm.
to match, or to pretty much say like, well, what you going through ain't nothing because I've been through such and such and such and such and such. And it's like, if you're not saying, especially if you're not saying this to me so that you can say, yeah, continue to talk to me because I know what you're going through. Like, let me just prove to you that I am that person you can confide in because what you saying ain't scaring me. Especially if it's not coming from that type of standpoint as well. You got to be real careful to prevent yourself from being all buddy with people like that because you're saying this so they can hear you. They ain't hearing you.
Interesting statement. All right, they say another sign. The relationship revolves around a shared enemy. That's how you know it's really a trauma buddy. You got a trauma bond. It is not real friendship. Lady Tamika.
Y'all work together. And the boss,
Mm-mm.
let me tell you, every time you turn around, let me tell you what such and such did. The boss, and y'all can't even focus on the meeting at hand because y'all chatting each other. If you're in a virtual setting or if you're in an actual work setting, y'all can't wait to go to lunch. Or y'all texting each other, during the office. Did you see what she said? And did you see how she looked at such and such and such? And that's the common bond. How about, listen, I understand what you're going through. Let me pray for you. Let's have a moment. As a matter of fact, we have a common issue here. Before we come into work, before we get on the workplace, why don't we have a conversation via phone and pray? Why don't we anoint the office? That transitions the atmosphere. No, you don't want to do that. You just want to keep me here. So every time the boss walk by, I'm twitching because I can't function. I can't focus because let me text you. Let me get to you so I can say what it is that I got it. So to keep you in that area of defeat.
Absolutely. Shantice, they say you have a shared enemy. This is why you have that trauma buddy, not a friendship.
And again, you gotta be careful because people do that when they like to tease the same person too. And it's like, oh, I only speak to you when it's time to crack jokes on. And again, if you're not careful, you'll find yourself caught up in that. I found myself caught up in that once. And it's like, wait, the only time we can kiki and ha-ha, the only time I'm not cussing you out is when I'm laughing with you about something with someone else. No, because I'm sitting here and I'm about to start cracking on you. No, you gotta be real careful not to not only that. Here's what ends up happening a lot of the times too. So we both have this common enemy. We both hate Jane. But then I get cool with Jane again. And now you're still not cool with Jane. So now you feel some type of way because now not only do you no longer have someone to help you rant and rave about Jane, but now you sitting here resenting the fact that I've been able to reconcile with Jane and you haven't. So now you double mad because now you done lost a buddy and now you envious or jealous because for whatever reason, we've been able to reconcile. And you have to be really careful with that too because they're not a common enemy for the same reason a lot of the time.
Right.
I could be mad at Jane because she stole my bag of chips. You mad at Jane because she stole your man. Well, listen, I can get over the chips. I understand you can't get over your man. God could have said, okay, Shanti's, not that it was just chips, because obviously still a thief is a thief across their life. But I'll put it on your heart where I may get to her to forgive Jane as well. There's going to be a whole lot more work with that because of what Jane stole. So while I'm sitting here now and I'm going to stay getting mad, I'm going to stay mad at Jane because I still want to be part of the Lynch Jane mob with you. But yet, God, maybe how you know that God doesn't need to use me to show you how to forgive Jane, even though, you know, the dynamic is different. But now I'm staying in trouble with God because I want to stay in this thing. Like, we got to be real careful. We have to be really, really, really careful because people will keep you sucked in with their mess and their craziness. While God is moving your heart, you know. So while you're trying to be in cahoots, you want to have this buddy. And again, that's not a buddy, because after a while, we used to tell people this all the time about my grandmother. After a while, the joke is going to be on you. You in cahoots with her. We sat and watched plenty of times. She's sitting there and she not trying to be funny. See, that was the difference with her. She wasn't trying to be funny. She wasn't trying to do no likes. She was saying what was on her heart to say. If it happened to be funny, then it was funny. And the whole room would be laughing. And Pastor Steph would just be sitting there like, go ahead. and we be laughing at Pastor Steph saying it. And she be like, yeah, go ahead. And she ain't funny to me, but the joke gonna be on you. And we've watched how people have literally been sitting next to her, next to my grandmother, ha ha ha, and then she'll just turn over and look at them and be like, what you laughing at? And we watched the laugh just quickly fade. And we told you, if you notice, none of her grandkids are sitting next to her. She has 5 of them. All out here. None of us are sitting next to her. Y'all didn't take that as a sign, as a warning. But she didn't discriminate. Just because she loved us and we got it too. It was no discrimination. So if we didn't want to smoke, we weren't in the immediate vicinity of the basement.
Right, you went somewhere.
Yes, we were laughing from the second floor. Yeah, we were laughing from the second floor, or from the basement, or from outside, or inside. And she was outside, however. Like, this is real life, like for real. So you gotta. So she helped us to learn and be on point. You gotta be careful, because before you know it, now there's 2 people coupling up against you because now they want to be buddies. And it's a long going thing where people always say, be careful, because they so quick to talk to you about someone else. They're going to be talking to someone else about you as well.
About you. That's right. That's right. The old saying used to be, a dog that brings a bone carries a bone. That was the old saying. So yeah, they bring you a whole lot of stuff, but what you taking? What you taking? Brian says, no, Pastor. Wait, he says, no, Pastor. I keep that type of energy away from me. I have no problem telling anybody to take their low-tier spirit and go find a bandit to trauma bond with. I ain't the one. That's right. That's right, Brandon, Brian. Very good. Very good. Good morning to you, Evans, coming from Kenya. Thank you so much. We miss you. I miss you too. I miss you too. All right. The next, let me see now. Let me get this together here. The next indication, they say that the 2 of you feel like that other one is the only one that gets it. That's why you my friend, because you're the only one that gets it. Lady Tamika.
And you keep them in that cycle because you always fill in their ear with stuff. Like, how am I hearing God in this ear when every time I turn around, you talking in this ear? I don't have a moment's peace, you know? And so anytime that I try to see what God is showing me, you keep filling my ear with stuff. That's why nobody else understands what I'm going through. You're the only one that understands. How about taking it to Jesus so that we don't have to go through it? Don't talk to me no more, because you're just going to keep me where I am. And every time I try and go somewhere, bring around the road, you got your arm around my arm. I can't go to lunch for myself. You know, it's you just always filling me with more garbage, more garbage. You know, more garbage out. You know, garbage in, garbage out. None of God is helping me to get to where I need to be, because all I hear is you.
Shantice, I'm going to give you something different because I want to shift this in the last few minutes that we have after this. They say they get weird when you try to move forward.
There it is.
Again. Because God is changing your heart. God has convicted you. So now I don't want to laugh at so-and-so anymore. Or I'm just tired of talking about this. Like, bruh, it's been 2 weeks. Either pick someone else to pick on or shut up. You know, like I can't keep talking about the same thing all the time. And now you think I'm strange because either I want to cut this out altogether, or at least we're going to start learning how to heighten this trauma. Either heighten the trauma or be healed. Because I can't stay on the same level. And now they're looking at you like you crazy because you don't want to stay where they are. And again, you got to be careful because people want to keep you tied down to their mess. No, you have to realize that, again, this is not your friend. First of all, we're not a friend if we're bringing somebody else down. Because again,
you're going in ocean, slow it down. That's where we going. That's where we going. So finish up.
No, that's it. I'm done. Let's go.
Okay, so we're going to take these same components and we're going to talk about having a Christian friendship, a real Christian bond, because we've heard, even if we never thought of it before, we've heard how these friendships are really trauma ships. They're trauma bonds. They're trauma friendships. They're not real loving friendships the way God designed a friend to be. So you're talking about the friend that only feels close when something is wrong. How do you now counteract that with God, Lady Tamika? And try to stay on, because it's gonna blend. But y'all follow directions much better than the men do. So let's streamline it, because if not, we'll be across the board and there won't be nothing else to talk about. Okay, go ahead.
So you only want to align with me when I'm having an issue, or boo boo boo, or sue sue, you only, that becomes a problem because you won't let me loose, and God is trying to take me somewhere, and, raise me up and allow me to grow. But sometimes God will prune, sometimes what God will do, he'll do one of two things. He'll either prune the relationship so that it transitions the way that he wants to, or he'll cut that person off and that alignment off, because you can't grow. I can't grow and sprout if I'm in this type of environment that's going to cut me down or not allow my extension to branch out.
Very good. Shantice, you compete over who's had it worse. How do you now twist that into a relationship that is godly? How do you turn it into a godly friendship?
How about we now talk about how many times God has convicted us or what he's convicted me on? How about we get transparent and humble? We're talking about ourselves, getting on ourselves, being able to check each other as quote unquote friends. Because if we're real friends, the real definition of a friend, not this just the street definition, then I should be able to look at you and say, friend, you bugging, this is why, and this is how you need to straighten up. And you should be able, whether you like it or not, you should be able to take that next level of trauma, because hearing about yourself can be traumatic at times, and go to God and fix it. But if I can't do that, then we're going to stay with the bonding and keep indulging in sin and keep each other down, where if we're really friends, we should be learning how to lift each other up.
Okay. Lady Tamika, they're your only friend who gets it. How can we kind of move that over into a godly, you're my only friend who gets it? Ooh, I like that one.
Just like I'm your only friend that gets it. why don't you get this? Get this conversation that's transitioning us from this area. You know, why don't you understand that God is doing something here? And you need, just like I'm listening to all of that you shove in my ear with, here's something that you can listen to. Here's something that you can read. Here's something that, you know, and God, what I love about God is He'll give you content if you're looking for content. You may be going through something, you may be struggling with something at work, and a lot of times God is saying, pay attention, pay attention. And because you're so busy listening to that, why don't you shift that atmosphere? You are the conduit for change. Why don't you be the conduit for change as opposed to you being the receiver? Now you be the giver.
I like that. I like that. I like that. Brian says, boy, I can't see Shantice trauma bonding with anybody. She might start a Bible study session with a choice of words. Brian, can I tell you, you have clearly described Shanti.
Starting with the definition.
Good one, Lady Tamika. Good one. Oh, I like that one. That was a good one. That was a good one. I'm sorry. That was funny. All right. Shantice, you don't actually know who they are outside the trauma. Ooh. See, I like these when you start putting them in the godly side, in the godly column. All right, hit it, girl, hit it.
Because again, if we're staying outside of God, I'm not going to take the time to get to know you, because I'm going to stay where it's comfortable. Where if we're friends in God, God is going to position both of us to have to see each other in ways that if we had our way, we would choose to stay away from, because see, being a friend is a job. It is a whole job. You just can't clock in and clock out. But it is a whole job. And for me to be attentive, to get to know you, means that I have to be good at my job. So I don't know you. If we're outside of God, I don't know you outside of trauma, because that's where it starts and that's where it ends. I call you or you call me to say it's just, I can't say the word here, but it's just like the how us brown and black people greet each other. And they say, when you answer the phone, depending on how they say that word, you know what they're about to tell you. That's how we start and end our conversation. Okay? Goodness. And I've had plenty of friendships that were like that. I say hello and they be like,
Or
and
you
already brace,
girl, depending on how I say girl.
Right. And now my whole posture, the posture physically, mentally, everything has to now adjust to how you just say girl. You didn't even say, hey, what's up? I answer hello, girl. Oh gosh. Wait. Let me pause the TV. Wait. Let me put the baby down. Hold on, wait. Let me pull over. Hold on. All of that is contingent on how you would say girls. It's the same thing with the other one. If I don't go into God, first of all, if we're in God and you call me with that, a lot of times like, wait, before you even get started. Is it something that we talked about that you ain't have no business doing again and you just did? Yeah, I see the whole thing changed. Now the whole thing done changed. So that's what makes the difference of when you call me with girl and we outside of God versus you call me with girl and we inside. Like we're allowing Jesus to be the cornerstone of this friendship.
I like that. I like this side, y'all. Much better than the other side. Lady Tamika, We got room for a couple more. They get weird when you try to move forward. How do we now convert that into a godly friendship?
Now, repeat that. They
get weird when you try to move forward. Shantice took us on the other side. I'm giving you the godly side because Shantice will do that part better. I'm just teasing.
Yeah, you get weird when I try to transition because it's like the best way that I could think about it is you got a weight on your ankle, and every time I try to, you got your right foot is clear, but your left foot has the weight, and the weight is this trauma button. So every time I try to move, I could do good if I'm just moving one leg. But I got you around my ankle and I can't move forward because you keep pushing me back. Every time I try to look at this workplace, let's just say this workplace setting, as, God has blessed me, God has sustained me, God has kept me, my household is being blessed because of the finances. Yeah, there's a struggle there, but looking at the benefit of not I got a job, but I get to go to work. There's a blessing in the transition because you keep staying around my ankle and you keep me there. I can't see the blessing. I can't see the movement of God. I can't see how I can be elevated because maybe at one moment that boss is having an issue as well. And if I can speak and use what God is giving me, the discernment to speak to the boss and transition the atmosphere, then you and I can go somewhere as a standing there. Come here, friend, let's go. Come here, friend, let's talk. Come here, friend, let's go to the meeting and see if we together, because there's two that we have together that can change the atmosphere and make it better than it ever has been. Not just for me, not just for you, but for the entire workplace. And I'm done.
Ooh, preach, girl. We touched the nerve. Oh my. Shantice, I'm giving you this one. Are we gonna stop? I'm giving you this one. You both use trauma as a currency in arguments. Oh, I like this one. Ooh, that currency in arguments. Ooh.
So that's how we repay each other with the I've been through this, you've been through that, or no, better yet, what you did to me, what you did to me. And you find yourself like, and again, I got caught up in this too, and it's like, why am I still talking to you? If you did all this to me, why do I answer the phone? Something wrong with me. Okay, when again, God doesn't have you cut everyone off. So a lot of people tease me because I have a lot of male friends. A lot of my male friends are exes. And one of my best friends, which is a female, she's like, you the only one I know that could have all your exes in the same room and y'all good. I said, because ain't no more trauma. Listen, you suck. And it's not intentional. I don't call everyone up and say, yo, you meet me at Applebee's. You meet me at Applebee's. You meet me at Applebee's. Everybody at 4:00. This is God ordained, because if I had my way, none of them would know each other. Now, half of them done developed their own friendships with each other. All that ain't got nothing to do with me. I don't care. Y'all go ahead and ride off into the sunset. But this is what I tell all of them. Y'all sucked as boyfriends. And y'all can probably look at me and say, Shantice, you were horrible as a girlfriend. But when it came time, when God said it's time to put that trauma aside, if you didn't deal with it when I told you to, oh well, because now I have it to where y'all need to learn how to bond on my platform. Y'all need to learn how to be friends. And 99.9% of the time was because we were supposed to be friends anyway. We ended up taking it into a whole romantic thing. So now that he's saying it's time to now go with the original format that I have for y'all, even if it was maybe y'all would end up being romantic, which everybody just skipped the whole friendship thing in anyway. But I need y'all to be friends first. So So now that I'm teaching y'all how to be friends, it's time to now put that trauma aside. Now I never would have thought once upon a time we couldn't get on this phone without cussing each other out and speaking to each other so disgustingly. But now here we can sit and laugh about how you used to cuss me out and you did this to me. Remember that time I caught you talking to this one and ha ha and all that. Now it's funny. It wasn't funny then. Now that we can put the trauma to the side, genuinely, now we can learn how to speak to each other properly. Don't mean you don't get on my nerves, I don't get on yours. But even the way we get on our nerves is different. And we learn how to come down from that because we finally learned on Jesus's terms how to put that trauma to the side. So now we can repay each other back with so now if you do something wrong, now I can correct you in a more mature way. Now I can correct you in a more godly way versus when we would argue before, the payback was always how I can kill your spirit with my words. It becomes the interaction becomes very different.
Right. Amen. Amen. Ladies. Oh my goodness. Ladies. Fantastic job. Thank you so much for your contribution into today's conversation. And we pray you have a blessed day.
Thank you, you too.
Thank you. Woo! Were you listening? Because the ladies definitely put it out there. Listen, between yesterday and today, y'all gonna have to put these two shows in your arsenal because the Due Time crew really showed up. So, we're talking about trauma bonds. We're talking about trauma friendships, not real friendships, but friendships that you only bond over things that have gone bad, either for you today and for me tomorrow, or we just gonna be this exchange, set, or we gonna compete over this. Yesterday, Pastor KL said something that was really interesting. He said, men don't go to church because they want to. Men go to church because they have to. Everything has fallen apart. Everything is nothing but calamity. And now you just, God, I'm here. Or you chasing tail. But he's saying, listen, this is the only way most men really go to church. So my thought as the ladies were talking, my thought was, how are we bonding with Jesus, the friend of all friends? Okay. So we talk about the friendship only feels close when something's wrong. Are we only running to Christ when it's only something wrong? That's why I brought up what Pastor KL said yesterday. Is that our relationship with God? God or Jesus, if you just get me through this thing, we're gonna be good. We're gonna be good. I'm gonna go to church. I'm gonna go to Bible study. I'm gonna talk to the Christian friends a little bit more. I'm gonna talk to my grandma a little bit more. I'm gonna do all these things that I know you would want me to do, because now my back is up against the wall and I feel like that's the only way I can come out, because I know you're going to bail me out, but I know I got to give something in exchange, and I can't come to you unless I'm bargaining. This is my bargaining tool. I'm going to go and do all these things better than I have been. And then when the trauma is done, now here's the thing. Woo! Pay attention. Here's the thing. Not all the time the end of that trauma is Jesus or God making a move on your behalf. Oh, nobody ever told you that. Nobody ever told you that that's not the only time trauma ends. Especially if your bargaining tool is, I'm going to do better, I'm going to show up, God, and you really know you ain't. Sometimes it's just a waiting game. And you just come on out that trauma just because the time has gone already past. But because you weren't real, they didn't do anything on your behalf. So here's what happens. You end up back in that trauma again. Why? Because you did not learn from the first time or the 12th time. So you keep ending up back in that trauma. So therefore, you keep going back to Jesus and God when something is wrong. That's when you feel close to God. Oh, I just met with my Savior. Jesus is ahead of my life. And you hear that for all of 5 minutes. And then when you look around, business as usual. Business as usual. You compete over who's had it worse. Oh, pay attention, pay attention. How many times do we go to God and we like, look, yo, God, I'm doing worse than so-and-so. And if you did it for so-and-so, you could do it for me. Oh, there's a competition. Now you're throwing that out at God. I know you're going to do it for me if you did it for so-and-so. So-and-so ain't did this, so-and-so didn't do this. I did this, I did that, and here I am before you. Talk about who had it worse and what you did for the other one when I've had it worse than so-and-so. Your relationship revolves around a shared enemy. Woo! God said, your enemies are my enemies. And sometimes when I ask you to let people go, you won't let them go because you don't see them as an enemy, but I see them as an enemy. Anytime they're working against me and you're trying to work for me, anytime they're speaking against me and I need you to speak for me, they now have become my enemy. See, all of this glossy, beautiful thing of what they say, and they don't mean it. Oh my God, you don't even realize how many times people have said they really didn't mean it. I know they just said it because they mad. The Bible says, out of the abundance of your heart, the mouth speaks. Whatever you say, you mean that thing. So now you're running to God, that shared enemy, that one person that you just can't get off your back, that one individual, that one situation that you can't get off your back. And you know God's not happy about that thing, but you can't let that thing go. Or you don't realize you need to let that thing go. You keep going to God about that thing, that person. And you don't have enough sense to understand that that's an enemy. And there are many things, whether it's a man, a woman, a job, it doesn't matter. An extracurricular activity that you have no business connecting yourself with, but you constantly at God's feet over this situation. And God says, you already know I'm not happy with that. But you here. We're here. Why are you here? Over and over again about the same person or the same situation. We're going to have to understand that God and Jesus are not our trauma buddies. They are not your trauma buddies. Now, can they be someone? Are they the people or the beings that you go to when you're in a level of trauma? Absolutely. But here's the problem. When I say they can't be your trauma buddies, you're not trying to fix anything. Faith without works is dead. You're constantly in the face of Jesus and God, but yet you won't do your part. So you keep going to God and Jesus about their part. Oh, God, can you fix this? God, can you fix that? God, can you turn this around? God, can you turn that around? But you won't do what you need to do. So now you're constantly in that level of trauma. Whether it's a man you can't let go, whether it's a job or a situation that's ripping you apart, whether it's the ones you call a friend and now you're not getting along with them anymore, and it could simply be because God is taking you in one direction and they are either standing still or they're going in the opposite direction. Because it's not until you start going into God's direction that you're going to be able to see a little clearer what's happening on the other side. You cannot use God and Jesus as your trauma buddies. Every time something's going wrong, that's the only time they hear from you. I need you to help me get out of this thing. What are you giving them? What are you giving them? Now, the one thing we do know is it's not an exchange for an exchange. Because guess what? We ain't never going to be God-given. We can never give the way God gives us. We can't rescue God from anything the way they rescue us from stuff. No matter how hard we try, we're never going to be able to match what they do. So we know that it's not transactional like that. However, you can't keep coming to the table dry. So in other words, you can't keep serving the enemy, but yet you want God to rescue you. Oh! Shall I say that again? You cannot always play with the enemy, and then when the enemy turns the tables and now you're really getting to see who he is, and now you eating some of that stuff that you did, now you're going to God to rescue you from what you willingly did with the enemy. That's how you make God and Jesus your trauma buddies. That's the trauma bond that we're talking about. Ain't gonna work. It's not gonna work. It's only going to be so many times for so long God is going to rescue you. It's only going to be so many times where Jesus is going to step in the gap for you, because you're going to have to learn. And they're not here for us to take advantage of. No. No, not at all. And I love God because I always tell you, no matter when you decide to give your life to him, he's already done an abundance of things. That's why I say you can never beat him giving. Because by the time you really actually wake up and you like, wait, hold on a minute. That's he didn't already did. Because if it weren't for him, you wouldn't be where you were at that time. So we're going to have to really, really check on these things. We're going to have to really check ourselves to make sure that we're not having a trauma bond with God and Jesus, because it doesn't work. It's not going to work for our benefit. It doesn't work. We just got finished talking about how it doesn't work on an earthly level. You better believe it ain't working on a heavenly level. No. Because God has allowed us to use him. You got to admit. You got to admit. Jesus and God, oh, we just use them all the time. But after a while, no is no. When I say that, I mean they're going to accept your no for that no. And they're going to give you what you've asked for. But can you handle it? And that's what this world is experiencing now. That's why our children is in so much trauma. Because we've told them no. We've told them that we've told God and Jesus that we don't want you in our child's life. No, we don't need to go to church. He or she don't need to go to church. They don't need to go to church. No. I put them in baseball and soccer and dance and all kinds of things when they should be in service. But yet, I want that same God and Jesus to protect them. They don't even know. They couldn't even acknowledge. I was at work. There was a woman who worked with me. And I don't know what I asked her one day. We were just talking, but she knew I was, a Christian woman. And I don't know what happened. I asked her one day. She said, you know what, Stephanie? She said, God was never talked about in my house. Never grew up. She was Hispanic. So I was really surprised, because generally Hispanic, they're very religious. Very religious. Even if it's the rosary beads and the Catholic thing and all of that, I was very surprised. And I said, never? She said, never. She said, I was with my grandmother and my mother. Never. My aunts, never. So there are, this is how it is. There are going to be people who have never, ever been introduced to Christ. Never. And when we introduce them to Christ, we tell them, if you've got problems, take it to the Lord. If things are not going right, take it to the Lord. And we stop there a lot of the times, but we can't stop there, because we have to not push that God is a trauma God. Jesus is a trauma God. That all you got to do is pray and you good. No, you got to do that thorough ministry. Even in that short amount of time, you've got to do a thorough job, and you can. You cannot spend 5 minutes with a person and then leave them believing that they can take every trauma to God, but there's nothing they have to do. You better take 2.5 minutes to talk about how God can rescue, and 2.5 minutes to talk about what they need to do. Whether it's the first or the second. I don't care which half it is. But you need to make a complete and thorough presentation as to who God is. God can rescue you. God will rescue you. God has already rescued you. Oh, I definitely will help somebody understand that. You wouldn't be where you are right now, whining and moaning and groaning and crying and suffering, if it weren't for God. You'd already be strung out on some drugs and alcoholic or something. Something would be off. You wouldn't be able to hold down a job. You wouldn't be able to take care of your kids. No, God is already done. Now, you need God to step in. Now, you need to develop a relationship with God. That cannot be something that you make a habit of. So when you do your ministry, help a person thoroughly understand. And I don't care how many minutes you got. If it's 1 minute, you better spend 30 seconds on one side and 30 seconds on the other side. I don't ever talk to a person about what God can do and leave them believing that God is the only one that's going to be doing, that he's the only one that needs to do, that you're going to be able to get whatever you want to get from God and you ain't got to do nothing. No. But how do you think I'm able to do that? Because I study. Because when you study God's word, it comes very natural, very natural. You quick on your feet. I do not let a person think, I don't care how bad their situation is. Take it to God. But understand that God needs you to develop a relationship with him. Because let's say, for argument's sake, God answers your prayer right now. You didn't have to do nothing but have that one prayer, and God wipes the slate clean. You think you're going to be able to walk off and go back to business as usual? Because you're going to need God again. And again. And again. And again. How long you think God going to keep giving before you are now sitting there stewing in your decision? Because that's what happens. It's our decision that takes us to these places. So come on. Let's not make God a trauma relationship, Jesus a trauma friendship, and let's not get that trauma bond going on with them. Let's make sure that it's an even exchange. And again, it can never be even. But in other words, I've made my decision to live for you, God. So I understand that in that realm, I go back to Deuteronomy 28, and there's blessings for obedience and curses for disobedience. It's all laid out. One chapter laid out. It lets me know how you're going to reward my obedience. In other words, again, it's not transactional. If my life is lived being obedient to you, there's certain things I'm just going to inherit. Oh, I'm just going to receive. The blessings I'm just going to get. It's not transactional. It's a lifestyle. If I live in a lifestyle of obedience, the blessings are going to come down. If I live in a life of disobedience, then I can't ask you for anything, because all good and perfect gifts come from above. If your child, or if a person didn't treat you right, or if your child has not been behaving well, they haven't been doing chores, they haven't been going to school, if they go to school, they're not doing their homework, they're halfway trying, are you going to give them a gift? Absolutely not. Or the gift you give is going to be small. So you think God going to keep giving you the big gifts and you're not acknowledging what he has said? So come on. Let's get this going. Leave that trauma stuff to God without you stressing and going all bonkers at the bad decisions you make, and give those decisions to the Spirit of the Lord. Yeah, let the Spirit of the Lord be your GPS. You can't go wrong. You cannot go wrong. So therefore, as long as you let Jesus and God and the Spirit of the Lord be your GPS, then all the decisions will be made to them and left to them. And you ain't got to worry about the wrong decision being made. The only time the wrong decision is being made is when we make it. So leave that trauma to God. But know that your life has got to parallel what God has put out for us to do. Following his commands, following his ways, and being uncompromising. You cannot straddle that fence. You either got to be with him or against him. And once you say you're with him, and once you struggle through that thing, because it ain't going to be an easy journey. Listen, flesh and spirit will always be there. This world will always be there. The enemy will always be there. So just because we accepted God does not mean that this going to be just some hayride. This going to be some work. You're going to have to work at this thing. But it's not as difficult the more you surrender yourself. The more you surrender yourself and the more you understand that I need to keep my eye on Jesus, it's not as difficult. So when little things come up, you ain't got to worry about that. When little things come up, you ain't got to worry about that. When big things come up, you ain't got to worry about that. Join the club. Join the club. You've been watching It's Due Time with Pastor Steph. Join us Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. where we discuss matters of the heart, mind, and spirit. As you go through your day, be sure to set your mind on things that are above, not on things that are on the earth. They will only serve as a distraction. Remember, prayer changes things. It's Pastor Steph signing off, and I want to thank my Due Time crew, the ladies, for always coming through big time. Thank you for hanging out with us and helping us keep that chat room alive. Please do not miss this opportunity to just have that relationship with God. Surrender it all to Jesus. Please do not miss this opportunity to strengthen that relationship with the Lord right now, because later is not promised to any of us. Until tomorrow, God spares, with Therapeutic Thursday. Until then, I love you.